Pretty decent contract for him. Obviously, he's never been a head coach, so like really good for him. And then the biggest thing is the security. And then another thing that people were really worried about with coaching contracts and things like that. And I thought this was very interesting with the buyout language. So contract buyout is $100,000. It applies both ways. So say Coach Kennedy is let go. He is due in $100,000 contract buyout. Say for whatever reason, Coach Kennedy decides to leave. He gets another job or something like that. He's due to pay the school an $100,000 contract buyout. And in the contract language, it basically says like it's for damages. So like coaching show money and all other things that they would have to pay to him. That's what that contract buyout is for. But $100,000 both ways for the contract buyout, as I understand it. I'm not a contract business lawyer or anything like that. So if you guys understand business language better than me and you guys have seen the contract, by all means. I do want to thank Sean Rainey for posting the contract online. Obviously it seems like somebody put in a FOIA request for the contract and the University of Montana obliged. And thank Sean Rainey for posting that online because I saw it via him. But the language in the contract, and I thought this was interesting, not necessarily for Bobby Kennedy, but for Bobby Hauck. And also, if you guys saw the contract, I just always think this is interesting with names. So Bobby Kennedy's name is obviously Robert, same as Coach Hauck's name is Robert, because in the contract, you see he's initialing some of the spots in the contract, and it says RK for Robert Kennedy. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But in the contract, it says, unless the coach terminates for reason of death, disability, incapacity, or retirement. So basically, you have to pay the buyout. The coach has to pay the buyout unless they unfortunately pass away, they become disabled, they're incapacitated, or they retire. If you guys remember when Coach Bobby Hauck retired, I believe the reason he did so, and I think Coach Hauck's buyout maybe was higher, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to FOIA request the Coach Hauck contract. But if you guys remember, Coach Hauck retired before he took that new job. Now, I don't know what all has to happen after he retires, but he retired. We all understand he retired, and everybody thought like he retired, but he didn't necessarily say he was done coaching. So I believe, this is me speaking, not anybody else. This is my belief. I believe that Coach Hauck retired so that they didn't have to pay the buyout, or he didn't, Illinois, whoever would have had to pay him, or Illinois didn't have to pay the buyout, which is interesting to think of. I don't have any proof of that. Obviously I can just go off what he said. I'm not a dummy. I know you guys aren't dummies either. So when somebody retires, then they take another job, and then you look at the contract, and the contract language says you have to pay this buyout unless you retire. I mean, hey, you guys do the math. I'm doing the math. You guys can do the math too. All I'm going to say is all I'm going to say. I see a question in the chat about how long have I been growing my locks. Yeah, all he said he was done being a head coach. Yeah, absolutely. He said he was done being a head coach. He didn't say he was done being a position coach.